Okay, class, so I'm just going to sort of go through and I'll do the front and back of each page in a video and then start a new video so you sort of don't have to watch the whole thing if you're just looking for a specific section. But, so here's the front and back of page 1. I would suggest as you're going through here, we're just using your calculator. If you're not sure how, right, you can just type it in exactly how you see it. Get -30. Number 2, right, if we type it in exactly how we see it. Oops. Number 3, again, when we have multiple things happening in the numerator, we have to do those two things together. So if we do those together, we'll get that, and then we can divide it by the denominator. Again, order of operations, we can type in all at once. Number 5 is combining like terms. So you can't type in the variable, but you can type in the coefficients. Oops. I hit an extra negative, so -6 minus 4, that's not a -1, so we'll get -10z. Here we'll need to distribute, so we'll get a 3x plus 12 minus 2x. We can combine these two terms. So 3x minus 2x is 1x plus 12. 7 we need to distribute, that's all we can do, so we'll get 5x minus 20. Then we get into solving some equations, so we're using inverse operations. So number 8, if we're getting x by itself, we'll subtract 24 from each side. Okay, that gives us x equals -32. Number 9, we're going to subtract that 1/3 from each side. So we'll do adding 1/3 by subtracting. I'm trying to do some different colors here to help you keep track. 10 minus 1/3 is 9 2/3. Again, it doesn't matter what form you have it in, you just need to make sure you can find it in multiple choice. Number 10, we'll undo adding 8 by subtracting 8. And then we'll undo multiplication with division. Number 11, we'll undo dividing by 4 by multiplying by 4. We'll get x equals 28. Number 12, can we undo addition and subtraction first? We'll undo subtracting 3 by adding 3. And then we can either divide by 1/2 or we can multiply by the reciprocal. Either way, we'll get x equals 20. Number 13, we'll distribute. And then we'll start using our inverse operations. I'm going to do multiplication with division. X equals 8. Or 14, we have decimals, but we're still just doing the same thing with inverse operations. So we'll get 2.5x equals 1.1. We'll divide. So we'll do 1.1 divided by 2.5, and we'll get 0.44. Number 15, we have variables on both sides. So when they're on opposite sides of the equal sign, we have to use the opposite sign to get them together. We'll undo multiplication with division. So we'll get x equals 9/8 or 1 1/8. Same thing as before, right? Doesn't matter which form as long as you can find it in multiple choice. 16 to solve for y, the x is already away from it, so we'll just undo multiplication with division, and we'll have to divide in all 3 places. 4 divided by -2 is -2. A negative divided by a negative is a +5. 17 to plot a point, right, it's x comma y. So we're going to 0 on the x and then to -3 on the y. So there's our point A. To do our point B, we're going to go to 1 on the x and then to 7 on the y. There's our point B. Okay, number 18, to write the inequality of this. This is a solid circle, which means we need something that's greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Since we're shaded to the right, we want it to go to the right, and it's at the number 4. Okay, solving inequalities. Remember, when we divide by a negative, that tells us that we need to flip the inequality sign. So make sure you get your sign the correct direction. 21, do division with multiplication. That's not a reason to flip the sign since the 5 is positive. X is greater than 10. 21, our variables are on opposite sides. You could move either direction. Subtract the 18. We'll say negative 3w is less than negative 39. We are dividing by a negative here, so that is a reason to flip the sign. 22 is a compound inequality. This is compound and, so when we use the inverse operation, we're putting it in all three places. Okay, so again, right, we're sort of covering up. We say that this is 2x. We undo multiplication with division, but we're dividing in all three places. So we'll get negative 6 less than x, which is less than 18. Number 23, we'll distribute. Divide by 2. X is less than 10.